this was a 40-foot shipping container, which a normal container couldn't withstand all the pressure of the water inside, so we had to reinforce it. It's all lined with 1/4 and 3/16 inch steel plate, and then we put these belly reinforcement tubing around it just to support all that expanding, that weight of the water inside. So we have about 12,000 gallons of water inside here. It's about 7.5 feet deep, and we have 30 feet of Aquaticar track run that we're able to do all of our testing with. So I think it's time to get in the water, don't you?
I do.
Okay. So, just to kind of show you, this is an exact replica. This is a 1/4 scale model of the actual vehicle. And for us, it allows us to test the turns and contact points. But if you see, you can kind of see how this thing runs. It will self-steer. So it has guide rollers. If there's nobody to load, it's like a chairlift at a ski resort. If there's no one to load, it's just going to continue around until it comes back and it's ready for a guest to load. So you can kind of get a little bit of an idea of the way the rotors work. You know, as this thing is traveling over the center section of the track, every 6 feet, the vehicle is mechanically contacting an air register, which is releasing air underneath the car. That air is forced through a plenum to release right under the rotor, and we're using the uplift force of bubbles to turn the rotor and propel the car, as well as feed air into the canopy. So self-steers, has guide rollers in the front. It's running on, this would be a fiberglass track, the actual track that we have, and there's stainless steel guide plates along the edge for the guide rollers to actually contact.
So there's no fuel or battery in the vehicle at all?
This is completely green. So we have, we call it bubble engine technology. It's part of our patent, which is to use this uplift force of bubbles. So every cubic foot of air represents 64 pounds of uplift force. We're harnessing that, and essentially what is like a Pelton wheel, normally you'd see it for water, but we're using it underwater and capturing the air. So we use that uplift force to rotate these rotors, and then through a drive system, we're putting power to the wheels.
So with the vehicle being environmentally friendly, I'm assuming the track is as well, so you could probably build this in a wild environment through a coral reef or something?
I suppose you could. You know, it's sort of like your slot car track. We have straightaways and 22.5-degree bends or turns, and you link them together to fit your footprint. So in most cases, it's going to be a man-made environment, but it could be in a natural lagoon. It's a little more challenging to install it, and we have a couple of locations that's wanting to do that, but it can be done. But typically it'd be in a man-made environment.
How did you guys conceive the idea for the Aquaticar, coming from things like the Sea-Track helmet?
Well, actually, it kind of started from Sea-Track. Sea-Track, our limitation was always capacity. You know, we take 9, 10, 12, 20 people at a time, but our demand was much higher, and the amount of time it takes to get people underwater and do the Sea-Track tour, for a water park environment, it didn't offer enough capture rate or enough turnover. So we came up with Aquaticar. Aquaticar is, we're using basically the same concept as Sea-Track, where we're capturing air in this inverted canopy. The water level stays about mid-chest. It exhausts out the back. It's a constant flow of air that's feeding into the canopy. And it's like Sea-Track. You're in this immersive environment from your chest down, but from your chest up, it's completely dry. And you're in this canopy, and it's sort of like Get Smart, the Dome of Silence. You can be whispering in there, and it's very cool to be able to share that experience with someone else.
Are there any contingencies if something should happen, like the vehicle stop moving or somebody panics underwater? How do we handle those?
Well, we've tried to anticipate almost every type of contingency. On the air delivery side, we have a compressor-driven system. It's backed up by a generator in case we lose power to the compressor. The receiver tank is big enough that the last car that's entering the water would have enough air in the receiver tank with a full set of cars on course to bring it back to the ascending conveyor to bring it out of the water. And then if for some reason we deplete that air supply, as soon as the pressure gets below a certain PSI, it automatically engages high pressure cylinders. If that gets depleted, there's a 45 cubic foot cylinder underneath the hood of the car. A safety diver can go down, engage that air cylinder. It feeds air to our air box, which continues to feed air into the canopy. There's 15 minutes of air in that cylinder for 2 people. If you have an emergency and we really had to get somebody up and out of the water, there's an inflatable bladder with a special size. It's just specific cubic feet of air. It's engaged by safety staff. It inflates in the back and it raises the car to the surface. So it raises the car to about midpoint in the canopy. If the gas can't be extracted from that point, we also can bring it over to a lift system, which will raise it completely out of the water, open the canopy, and assist the guests out. So there's a VHF radio on board. There's an antenna that's protruding above the surface, so they can always be in contact with the safety
It's a
staff.
two-way radio?
It's a two-way radio. Each car has its own frequency. So if there's a problem, they can communicate with the guests. We can send a diver down just to see what the issue might be. We can communicate with them. So we've tried to cover every contingency, but this is what we're going through with TUV-SUD, is we're going through all that certification process. And the safety and operational standards is something we're really focused on.
Now, to date, if somebody's wanted to go into an underwater system, much like this car, they've had to go in a completely dry environment, like a submarine ride at Disneyland or the new one going into Lego, which are attached to tracks overhead or underneath, but they're in a completely dry environment, or it's something where they're steering a vehicle pretty much free range in a sandbox type environment.
Yeah.
With this, do you see any applications of, say, an underwater dark ride type adventure? Does it have audio that could be pumped in, narration, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Right now, this is an AM/FM. It's an AM, FM, and VHF radio. You could pump sound into it, but really the next level would be to do some augmented reality, create a dark ride kind of experience. It's kind of the ideal vehicle, where we've created a system to be able to transport the guests underwater, creating that themed environment and how that interaction occurs. Really, I think that's the dream side of park architects and the designers, to create these environments that will be completely unique from one to another. I'm excited about that part, just to see what comes up.
So you want me to come up around there then?
Yeah, come on up. Whatever you think.
Oh, this is a little more cozy.
Yeah.
That means more of my body's going to get wet.
Check this out. Yeah. See how his shoulders fit up in there. Should be able to lean back into here. You see this here? That's.
Oh, nice.
We did that so we didn't add a lot of volume.
So there is a shoulder area right here.
So this is a squeegee. This is our shop style squeegee.
If your view gets obstructed, you can just run that along the lens in front of you.
Oh, okay.
Maybe put that under your shorts there so you have it.
Won't float out. So it doesn't float out. You might put it like underneath.
It's already was yesterday. Okay, ready? Get the lift filled with water.
I hope this is nice and 78 degrees.
All right. Here we go.
Cold. It's cold. Record the screen. Okay, the ears have just popped, but as you can see, there's the water, there's the window. We are inside our own little personal mini submarine.
The cone of silence.
Yes, that's my belly.
The cone of silence.
Here, we're gonna turn the camera on our photographer Joe so you can see just how the water works here with the little envelope. These are our safety divers.
The wildlife.
Oh! And we have contact with the radio.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. our diver is apparently stealing air from us. So, as you can see, there's a small child in the window. That's one of the exhibits here, apparently.
Child.
It's child. Are we even on the... This is fairly comfortable, actually.
Yeah.
A little warm, but comfortable. Oh, okay, we've got bubble power now. So we're using the squeegee because we're kind of fogging up in here. Remember, folks, this is a prototype. One really cool thing I'll say is that as we're being propelled by the bubbles, you kind of get this little jacuzzi bubble massage feeling to it, which is really neat.
I wonder if they know that this kind of spits out water.
I'm sure they do. So this thing is spitting out water, but again, this is a prototype. I feel the bubbles closing up. And as you can see, there's the water. So here we go. We're almost to the end of the track. Very exciting. Now, we did joke about the water temperature, but it was actually perfect and very comfortable. In fact, comfortable is a term I would use to describe the entire experience, from the motion of the vehicle to the seats, which are height adjusted to provide the same viewing experience for both passengers, to the canopy and the window. As someone who sometimes feels claustrophobic at tight spaces and might panic, I didn't have any issues at all with the Aquaticar. Now, there are a lot of possibilities for this vehicle, from riding through aquarium tanks and dolphin sea pens to underwater dark rides with locations ranging from shipwrecks to even alien planets. The vehicle that we rode in was the same prototypes that was displayed at the 2017 IAPA Attractions Expo in Orlando. As of the posting of this video, Subsea Systems is hard at work finishing up their next Aquaticar prototype, which will feature a larger canopy and window and an updated drive ratio, which will allow it to go faster. And we'll be taking it for a spin in a few weeks. Now, for more information on Aquaticar, visit www.aquaticar.com, and for photos from our visit to Subsea Systems, visit www.InParkMagazine.com.
Oh god, this is gonna be good.